we went to the cinema to see the Fabelmans, and I was just sold on this because there wasn't any hype to it for me or anything. I just saw one trailer and just thought, well,
no hype at all, has there?
I love everything else that Spielberg does. I mean, it's not hype in the sense of like, it's not your big movies nowadays. You're in a crowded marketplace, so this is it's a quiet, understated story. It's called Fabelmans, but it's the key plot points on it, which I'd have to do a bit of research after watching it, are accurate to Spielberg's life. So the hairstyle of his mom, that's kind of what her style was. What happens to their marriage, it was what happens. The huge chunks of this are basically just bang on, really. So he tweaked it a little bit apparently just to get so it looks less narcissistic. Like this is all about me. So he changed the names. It gives him a bit of license to tweak things for the sake of storytelling. But it's pretty much a Spielberg biography kind of.
Is it a bit super 8-ish? Or the first part of Super 8?
Yeah, there's bits where you can see where Super 8's been influenced by that sort of thing, where it's a bunch of kids running around making their home movies and stuff like that. So there's bits like that in it. The first half hour of Fabelmans, I was really not enjoying it, and it felt really syrupy. It felt really fake and cheesy. It had scenes when all the family are together, and the friend of the family that they call uncle, though he's not strictly their uncle, is round, and they started a bit of a joke. And there's one scene where they're going to joke about the mom's fingernails a bit too long to be playing the piano, and they're like sort of like, oh, let's cut them then, let's get the nail clippers, come on kids, let's hold her down. They're all like laughing, going, ha ha ha, what fun we're having, teasing me to cut my fingernails. And I was thinking, this is cheesy as hell. I'm really not enjoying this. And then as they sort of time jump a bit to his sort of teenage years, and it's to a different actor, I've kind of realised that it's cheesy like that on purpose. It's not trying to be a realistic depiction of his family life. It's basically saying this was what family life was. This is my recollection of family life. If you remember, if you've got a happy family anyway, your very young years, you just remember these highlights, the wow bits, the moments of wonder, and you don't, there's no criticism of your family setup. You don't really know what's going on in your family, so you just remember all these sort of highlights, which is what he's saying. It's a big love letter to his mum and dad. And then as he's getting old, as the character gets older, there are, that thing where you actually start realising, hang on a minute, family aren't perfect. There are cracks in marriages and in relationships and stuff like that. Yeah. And I kind of realised that actually it was his choice to do it like that. It was everything was a bit too perfect and smiling cheesy. He did that for a reason. And it's what I felt that when it got to the ending, me and my wife both felt like I could watch more of that. I was really engrossed in it. It's nothing massively happens. It's just a real life autobiographical story.
Is it that kind of thing? Like, does it go all the way up to him starting his adult life as a filmmaker, or is it not? Is it more as a young lad?
Not quite as far as that. No, it's him sort of. It goes up to his very first tiny steps into the industry. First sort of job.
It's
working
weird,
on about
because it's getting lots and lots of hype. But like you say, weirdly, I can't see people really watching it because there's no sort of, like you say, it's a biography, isn't it? Is it got like the sort of slow pace of, I don't know, Shawshank Redemption, that kind of?
It's like a movie Wonder Years type thing. If you want to compare it to something, do you remember Wonder Years? Yeah, or Stand By Me. Yeah, it's paced like that, but it's good, and the actors are good. There's the stuff when he moves to high school, and there's bits of people are, there's a bit of bullying stuff going on there, a bit of sort of first sort of love there. It's sort of saying stuff about that pull that if you're going to follow, if you've got family and art. And what do you do? And you've got, the dad's basically saying, go to college, get the kind of equivalent to GCSEs, but you get your qualifications that will give you a career and a job,
a proper job, yeah.
Yeah, and then the mother's like, no, follow your passion instead. If you want to be a filmmaker, be a filmmaker, and it's about that.
Do you think that thing there? I always think there's two ways of looking at that. Either it comes from like a parent who's perhaps had a slog, like if your dad was a coal miner or worked on the road, or quite a hard job, I'd say. And they always say you've got to work
Yeah,
hard like I did to make life.
well, Spielberg's background is that his dad was quite high up as an engineer in the early days of building computers.
Oh, okay.
So he's from that side of things as an engineer, a problem solver, hands-on, technical. And then his mother was supposedly a really good pianist and sort of didn't really pursue that. And then he's obviously got that sense of, what could have been if she'd have followed that career instead of following her husband
Rob,
and getting married and having a family instead.
As you mentioned a minute ago, I'm in my 50s, and I think if I had my own time again, or I'd say to my kids, go after these things, because a lot of us have had jobs, haven't we, that perhaps weren't mentally fulfilling, and actually you look back and you think, I could have used that time better doing whatever it is.
Well, it's interesting for me because me going down the art route at school, and when people are talking about careers and choosing things that going to be potential for careers, and me wanting to just choose all art. And I remember my head of my A level at school was basically saying, no, you've got to have maths as well, because if you don't have things like maths, you're closing doors for opportunities down the line. It's like, but I'm never going to use maths. I want to do art. That's all I want to do. And having that, so I completely got where he came from, because that's the sort of thing where I wanted to do art, but then there's people just go, and what's your job going to be then?
Yeah.
An artist, I don't know, just like, really, that's not much of a job though, is it? Who's what, you're going to be a famous artist? So so I'll get where it's coming from. It's a good movie. It's a good, solid.
Sounds really solid.
Good performances. Paul Dano plays his dad.
Oh, right. Okay.
Again, in early, like those early scenes is all a bit sort of like, oh, shucks, a bit sort of, and he just seems a bit too good to be true. But then, as the story goes on, you just like reflecting on your own parents, and you just realise, you look back and realise that they've got things going on as well, and they're making tough decisions.
But as a kid, you never see that. You don't think parents have.
But it's a real love letter saying that things aren't always perfect for people, but they're doing things, they're sacrificing things, they're making choices for their family as their priority at the end of the day. And if anyone that's got a happy, stable upbringing, I think would see a lot of themselves in this story. I think it's I highly recommend it.